The Enterprise is called to Starbase 11 for a very special pickup. It's the Menagerie Part 1 next.
Hi, I'm Chip Cosell, and this is John Whitney.
How you doing? John Whitney here. How you doing?
Hi, and this is Edith Keelers, Edge of Forever Bar and Grill. Thank you for joining us. Welcome aboard. The bar is open as always. What are we drinking tonight, John?
Well, first I want to say, if you like what you see, please subscribe.
Yeah.
And hit that bell so you get notifications of whenever we upload a new video. And we do short stories, and we do obviously episodes. And we try to have them come out every 2 weeks or so. It's been really busy, but maybe it'll be every 3 weeks. I don't know. It kind of schedules get messed up. Anyway.
Yeah, that's for sure. Oh, man.
We are drinking. Somebody actually commented that we did not talk about what whiskey we had last time. I think it was. Shoot, I can't remember who it was.
I can't remember.
Sorry, I apologize. I can't remember. But this one is Chattanooga whiskey, straight rye malt whiskey. Mm-hmm. So that's what we got for today, and we're gonna go ahead and pour it.
Oh, thanks.
There you go, Jip.
Thank you very much.
Oh shit.
Getting me first.
Big
Thank you.
deep pour there.
I feel kind of discombobulated today because I don't have my computer. I left my computer. I left my Star Trek shirt.
Yeah,
and
there's another Star Trek shirt.
I'm gonna have to work notes off of my phone, which I never do. Yeah. But it'll keep me focused this way. So that's
I have
good.
my notes in this thing. Okay, let's start it.
Yeah. So this is part 1.
Yes, this is the Menagerie Part 1.
Yep, the only 2-part series, 2-part episode of Star Trek.
And what they did actually is that they had made the original pilot, which was called The Cage, starring Jeffrey Hunter as Captain Pike, and Spock, and Leonard Nimoy is in it as well, and a couple of people that we do not recognize except for
number 1, who was Nurse Chapel.
Yeah, Nurse Chapel.
Or she's Nurse Chapel now, but she was the...
So I'm guessing that to save money, they decided that they were going to do a retread on the Cage, and they came up with this idea of the Menagerie, which is basically a courtroom a drama.
That's right. Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
So they're taking the original Cage and they're using clips for evidence. We'll get to it, but
we'll get to it. So the Enterprise, we show up, and the Enterprise is going into orbit at Starbase 11, and we go down to the surface, and there's this woman. I think it's Piper. Miss Piper.
Miss Piper.
She's sitting there staring off into the clouds.
Yeah, it's crazy because I think when it was on broadcast, I think they cut a lot of stuff for time, and I don't really remember a lot of these lengthy shots. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's like seeing something fresh and new.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she's there. They have, of course, a brand new matte painting that's awesome of a planet in the background with rings around it. It's really cool.
And they beam down, and it's Spock, Kirk, and McCoy. And that's it, right?
Yeah.
There's no third one. There's no fourth one. And she walks up to him, and I think said, "Why have you come?" She says, "I think."
Yeah.
And what does he say? He says,
it's like, "Well, we got an urgent message to divert Starbase 11."
And she's like, "No, you didn't get one from this place."
Yeah. You're like, huh.
So
curious,
then they leave, and they're on their way to see...
They go to see the Commodore, and he's like, they're having an argument back and forth.
Yeah, he's like, "Who sent this message?" "Well, we didn't do it. We have no idea who sent this message."
Yeah.
Either somebody's lying, or and he's basically saying, Spock is the one that found the got the message from Commander Pike or Captain Pike, and he's like, "It's impossible."
Yeah. The Commodore's like, "Yeah, that's impossible," and they're like, "Why?" He goes, "Well, they'll have to show you." So they go and they show him. They go.
You haven't heard? There's been a lot of deep space chatter about this. You haven't heard?
Yeah, no one's heard. They're not keeping up on their socials, apparently.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
nobody's using Facebook.
They posted on. Yeah, they're not using Facebook anymore. It's hilarious. Yeah. So they get up there and they're going to the medical room.
Yeah, he says something about what happened to him, and he goes, "Well, he was with a training ship, and it was an old class starship, and one of the was not the bulkhead, but
some kind of he rescued these people before some kind of fusion plate thing." Yeah. Got him, and then Bones knew right away and says, "Delta radiation."
So now they're kind of mentally prepared. Even like the little look on Kirk's face of like, it was like, "Oh boy, okay." So they go in,
Yeah.
and they pan over to Pike, and he's in this big black and silver wheelchair thing, and the wheelchair kind of spins around, and you see him, and they react to him, and the Mendez is like going, "Hey, I think you know these guys," and he just flashes no.
Yeah, 2 for no, 1 for yes.
And then so Mendez says, I thought you'd make an exception for these guys.
Right, because he didn't want to talk to him.
Yeah, he
basically.
says, beep, beep, 2 beeps and no. And then Mendez like, gentlemen, I'm sorry, but we're going to have to get out of here.
That's right. And they turn to walk out, and Spock sticks around and says, Captain, may I stay? And he flashes yes.
Yes.
So that's where we get a first hint that something is afoot.
Right.
Something is different because Spock is talking to him.
Spock gets up to him and he's like going, Captain, you know why I'm here. It's only 6 days away, and he beeps no, because he knows what he's talking about. He's talking about Talos 4.
Talos 4, yeah.
He goes, I must do this.
Yeah.
I have no choice but to do this, or something like that.
Yeah.
And he's like, and then we go to a commercial, right?
That's right. That's the tease, and that goes to commercial.
Okay, so we're out of the open, and now Kirk and Mendez is in Mendez's office, and they're discussing
Yeah, they're having like
the message.
Yeah, they're having a back and forth, and they're going through the options. Like someone is lying, someone sent a message and lied about it, or lied about receiving it.
Are you calling my first officer a liar? Yeah. And he's like, no, I'm talking about that. They're going back and forth. And he goes, don't you think I would, if he wanted to see Pike, that I could just give him a leave?
Yeah.
And I'd do it. And he said, oh, yes, I guess you're right.
Yeah.
Yes, there's that, I suppose. Okay, let's stop. Yeah. And they stopped arguing.
Yeah, they have these arguments like that. I noticed that's the canon of the show, how they argue.
Yeah.
They check down with Computer Center. Yeah, the Computer Center. And say, hey, what's going on? Do you have any new information about it? No, I've checked everything.
Yeah.
Nothing's working.
Nothing came from here.
Nothing came from here. And then he goes, well, now check the impossible kind of thing. And that's when they do that one continuous shot that you like.
Yeah, it kind of does a left to right dolly over while he's talking to Mendez. He then leaves the frame, and then all of a sudden Spock comes around the corner and pushes with him, following him. Kind of like where this guy was, and he gives the guy the nerve pitch.
He gives this guy working on the computer the Vulcan nerve pitch.
Yeah,
knocks him out and starts working on the computer.
And then we're back into Mendez's office.
Right, and then Miss Piper walks in.
Yeah,
and she goes, Jim, did you meet my assistant, Miss Piper?
Yeah, which is weird because she's the
she
one who's
already
down on the surface talking.
She met him already.
Yeah,
and then she's like, oh yes, our common friend Helen Johansson or whatever.
Yeah, Johansson.
Yeah, Helen Johansson told me all about you, and Kirk seems embarrassed, like, oh, Helen. Oh, yeah.
What did she? So did Kirk and Johansson? Did they?
Did they bang? Mm-hmm. Did they bang?
I think so.
Yes, definitely. With that look, yeah.
Yeah, because there was they had this moment kind of, she was like staring at him like going, yeah, I know your dirty secrets, you
exactly.
dirty bastard.
Yeah, because women talk.
Exactly.
In the future, women talk. In the present, women talk. Women just talk. Yeah, and at this point, they're given juxtaposition about his mind. His mind is highly active. It's a regular mind like you and I, except now it's trapped in this useless body that's kept alive by this wheelchair machine.
So yeah, he's a he doesn't move much, and that's that wheelchair. It can turn a little bit, it can go forward, a little bit back.
Yeah, a little bit back. Like,
poor devil is just an invalid or something. What
the poor devil.
Kirk is like, he's impossible. It's impossible that he could do it.
Right, impossible for him to send a message. Yeah, so that goes back up to the bridge.
No, we're at the radio room. Spock is trying to send a...
That's right. He's got these... that's right. He's using the tapes to forge... He's like doing that...
It's...
That's it, yeah.
Starburst operations. And then...
Starburst operations. Yeah, so basically, they are predicting what we have now, which is like these, the ability to make fake voices. They're already predicting it here in Star Trek, right?
It's AI, yeah.
AI before they even knew what it was.
Yeah.
And he's popping these, they call them tapes in those discs, those plastic cards, which are essentially giant SD cards, that have files on them.
So they can do that, but they can't, it's only one blink yes and two blinks no's. Anyway.
Yeah, you thought that too? Yeah.
Yeah, well, there's no way they would know about like how Stephen Hawking could communicate
Right.
or anything like that. How could anybody
my
think about that
God.
kind of stuff? Now we go to the bridge.
Yeah, now we go to the bridge.
And now we're hearing that message. But
Yeah.
the continuation was we have special,
Prepared to
orders
receive special orders.
from for Mr. Spock or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
And then Spock hops on the line. And he tells them, "Hey, we're on a super secret mission, and that we are going to leave orbit. And don't tell the crew, don't tell anybody that's not on the bridge.
Yeah.
And we're going to be leaving. We're going to be warping out of orbit in 1 hour. And now we switched locations, and we're in kind of a lounge. I'm not sure if it's Mendez's office, but Kirk and McCoy are in there, and they're just kind of talking.
Yeah, yeah.
They're talking about could Spock have done this?
Right. That's it.
First, he's like he's staring at the monitor at Pike, and he's like, he keeps flashing no.
Yeah, yeah. And then they have a conversation, a discussion back and forth that gets heated about the Spock being human, and that like Kirk or McCoy could do it, but they don't have the professional know-how, but they have the disposition.
Yeah,
but
like,
Spock doesn't.
I know. He's like, you could even do it if I thought you could. Just like you said. And he's like, I could go up half-cocked and maybe get away with it, but I wouldn't do it. We're talking about Spock here.
Yeah, we're talking about
He's
Spock.
a Vulcan.
Yeah,
He can't
exactly.
do it.
And then there's a call like, Dr. McCoy to the Enterprise. There's a medical emergency.
I guess somebody must have discovered a hangnail.
Yeah, so he books.
He's, I'll go check it out and I'll let you know what happens. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's when he books out of there.
Yeah, he books out. There's a time switch. There's some kind of a time thing. Kirk is inside Mendez's office, and he's sitting in front of Mendez's desk, and Mendez puts down has this book, and then Piper's watching Pike, and he puts down this book, and it's like this super secret red book about the Talos 4 incident, I guess, or whatever it's called. And he says something about this is for only eyes of top brass or whatever. And he's like, I'm not supposed to look at this because I'm giving you permission to look at this.
Yeah, and he has this locking mechanism that scans down. I wonder if that's a real thing.
I don't know.
Because it seemed like it was, like I told John earlier, it's like they're in the future, but they're using like contemporary props sometimes that don't quite look futuristic. Like this book looks like a regular book from the 60s that he goes
It was kind of fluffy.
and it opens up this metal thing.
It was kind of cool.
Yeah.
I liked it.
And he turns the page and it's a well printed out document.
And then so they were discussing everything. There's only one ship that's ever been to Talos 4, and it was the Enterprise. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, really? I don't think
kept
Kirk
him
knew
by
this.
no, he didn't. He's like kept him by Captain Pike with first officer.
Yeah, half
Mr. Spock.
half human, half Vulcan, first officer named Spock.
Yeah.
And I was not first officer, but a lieutenant named Spock.
Yeah,
So I know he was a science officer.
Science officer
named
Spock.
And it says it on there. It says half human, half Vulcan, Lieutenant Spock.
Does it? It says
Yes,
that?
it just says
oh my
that.
God, I can't believe it's so racist.
And it was like calling him out, man.
Yeah. God,
He's
it's
not
so racist.
He's a half-breed.
Yes. That green-blooded hobgoblin. Is that when
That's when
Piper notices?
Piper notices, she like looks up, and you keep looking at her back and forth as she's looking down, looking at them, looking down. Then she looks at them, and she looks back down again, and it's like, oh my God, he's gone.
He must have Spock beamed him out, right?
Yeah,
he had to have beamed him out.
But when I was a kid, for some reason, I pictured this thing that we didn't see. I pictured Spock entering the frame and then pushing him out the frame. And, I didn't make the connection of beaming out when I was a kid.
That makes sense. Like, secretly, Spock just kind of
Spock-
creeps in there, takes him out to the hall. Yeah. Then pushes him in the hallway and beams him out then.
But of course, dumb kid brain. Because then they said the Enterprise is warping out of orbit.
Yeah.
And that's when Kirk is like, oh, something's happening.
Yes.
I have no control right now. Spock is up to some shit.
And there's a commercial break, and then it cuts back, and the Enterprise is flying over the planet, taking off, and
on the bridge.
And this new guy who looks kind of like he's from Central Casting, not a Teamster looking guy. He's like, everybody's new on the bridge. We said that except for Uhura.
Yeah.
And Spock, of course. And he's like, okay, we're warping out. And then he says something, and
Everything's automated.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, the computer will know where we're going. This is top secret. You shouldn't, blah, blah, blah.
Don't worry your pretty little head.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the computer knows where it's going.
Yeah.
And then Uhura says, someone is trying to hail us.
There we go. That's right.
And then Spock is like, make no attempt to contact them. That's when Spock addresses the crew and says they're on a secret mission.
Mm-hmm. He gets on the blower.
Yeah, got the blower.
Yeah.
The big blower.
Yeah.
And says that we're on a secret mission. McCoy comes in, and while he's giving that information, he signs off on the ship, and he's like Spock, I went all around. There's nothing wrong. I don't know why did I come on? Why did they ask me to come on the ship?
Yeah.
And then he says, Doctor, there's many things that you don't know. I'm sorry that you were kept in the dark, or whatever he says.
Yeah, that's right.
Come with me, and I'll tell you everything. So he goes into the elevator, and McCoy just kind of hesitates, and Spock is like, come on. And he goes in, and then we're on our way, and they walk in, and they see who?
They see Pike's, and they walk into Pike's quarters, and there's Pike.
That's right.
In the wheelchair.
That's right.
And he's got, blaze, I don't know what he says, something like, blazes, what the, and he's like,
doing there?
Yeah, he's like, what the, Spock?
And he pulls out a cartridge, and there's a message from Kirk.
Yeah.
He wanted to tell you this. And then what does he say?
And the message, the computer voice of Kirk says, Bones, it's a top secret mission or something like that, and don't bother him with questions, just take care of his medical needs.
Right.
Yeah, something like that.
So now we're back on the bridge, right?
Yeah.
And we see this really cool shot of just the engines, nacelles.
Yeah.
And us
a reverse
going
shot, yeah. Because there's a shuttle following. He says there's a shuttle following us.
And then Spock.
And Spock goes, make no attempt.
Right.
Yeah. No, do not slow down. Make no attempt to
make contact.
Contact or whatever. Yeah.
And they're like, okay, I guess you know what you're talking about. Maybe in the back he's like, oh, and people could be trying to stop us. We'll just completely ignore everything.
Yeah.
So now we go into the shuttlecraft.
Right. We cut there, and it's the Jim, and it's Captain Kirk and the Commodore.
Mendez, yeah.
Yeah. And they're talking about how much fuel they have left.
Yeah.
And he's like, we're almost at the point of no return, and we could still turn back.
Right.
We're up to 61%, Captain.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of thing.
And then Kirk's like going, okay. He doesn't know what to do right now. He just wants to try to make contact. So
so he keeps
like going,
Shuttlecraft to Enterprise. Shuttlecraft to Enterprise. Do you read? Shuttlecraft, do you read? Shuttlecraft, do you read? Shuttlecraft, do you read?
I don't know if he says like that.
That's stupid.
Close enough.
That's too far off.
And now we're back on the bridge.
Spock is asking the computer about the shuttlecraft, asking it for information.
Yeah, what's going on? What is that object that's following us? And he's like, shuttlecraft,
Yeah.
And it's like, basically all the specs on the shuttlecraft. So he knows at that point, it's got to be Kirk on that ship.
Exactly. And he asks, when is it possible for them to turn around safely? I mean, the computer's like, it is past the point of no return. Safe return is impossible. Something like that.
And then the camera pushes in on him like going, the jig is up.
Yeah, but he's got a plan. He's got a plan, though. Come on,
Yeah.
And then it goes back to the shuttle, and they're out of fuel. They run out of fuel.
Oh, this is my favorite line. I don't know why. Even though I had not seen it for years, when Mendez throws the switch after the fuel is gone, he's like going, he turns around, he's just sitting there, and he goes, we coast.
Yeah, that's a great line. We coast.
We coast.
We coast. I love that line.
In space, when you're going a certain speed, you could turn your engines off and you'll still coast the same speed. There's nothing to hold you back.
There's nothing that's going to slow them down.
Yeah, so they're just going to be, until
cruising along, no fuel.
They run out of oxygen in 2 hours.
Yeah, and Kirk gets up and taps the oxygen things.
Yeah.
2 hours. While they're talking on the shuttle, like, why get Pike to Talos 4? They're wondering, why are we going to Talos 4? Why are we taking Pike to Talos 4? Right. So there's like a big mystery behind it.
Yeah,
so it's a courtroom drama / mystery.
Yeah. So he's like going, it means a court-martial. Or death.
Yeah.
If
he makes it to Talos 4, it's death.
Yeah, he's dead. Maybe he's gone mad.
Yeah.
They're trying to figure it out.
Right.
So now we're back on the bridge, and McCoy has the theory on who's behind. He's like, I wonder who's in that shuttlecraft.
Yeah, that's great.
Would you know Mr. Spock?
Yeah, and that's when Spock gives up the ghost.
Puts the card in, he's like saying something about, item 73, whatever, engage.
Yeah.
And it must be some computer
It's
program.
it's a code or a computer program for it to follow certain steps.
Because he knows, okay, probably in his brain, it's like, oh, if this happens, I'll use this card.
Right.
And this is the sequence
That's
of
what I
events.
thought too.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what
yeah.
I thought too.
So that's how far he's really thought about it. He says he has a plan. So that must be a contingency plan.
Yeah.
If they get caught. Spock goes to the chair and pushes the button. He says, please send security team up to the bridge. And everybody's looking. It's like, what? Why security?
Yeah.
And Spock tells McCoy that he needs to place him under arrest as the senior officer on the bridge.
Yes. That's right.
And he's like, why? It's mutiny, Doctor.
Yes, I'd never received a message, to report. I am, basically Spock confesses, much to McCoy's chagrin, and then
He's been
in comes
defending him the whole time as he's Spock. Come
and
on.
security comes in. What is it, Mr. Spock? Where are you? It's like, and
Place Mr. Spock under arrest.
yeah.
Would, confinement to quarters be good enough?
And everybody's like pausing, like, what do we do?
Yes.
This is crazy.
Spock is like, well, that'll be sufficient.
Yes.
And then he then McCoy's like, confine him.
I love that when he waves his hand.
Confine him.
Well, confine them.
Yeah, exactly.
So great.
So they take him away, and then would you say Uhura is looking kind of like weird?
Yeah, she's like, whoa, holy, standing there. What is she supposed to do?
I know.
Her friend and colleague.
Go confine him.
Crazy.
So now
And that's the end of the episode. No, I'm just kidding.
now we're in the transporter room, right? Because they have
Yes.
to beam him off the
Shuttle.
Yeah.
He tries to, where's Mr. Spock? He's in his quarters under house arrest.
Yeah,
or
man,
whatever.
like going, is that really considering what he did?
Consider he should be in the brig. That kind of thing.
Whatever. So the guy comes in and he says, he tries to say, change reverse course, go back to station 11 or whatever.
Yeah.
And he says, I can't, sir. There's nobody up there. Mr. Spock's got the computer running the ship.
Yeah.
And he tries to tell the ship, tell the computer to stop.
Yeah, because the engines came back online and it started going again.
Right.
And he's trying to tell the computer to stop the ship. And he's like, cannot do it.
Yeah,
Cannot comply.
Then we cut into Spock's quarters. He's like listening to everything. And Kirk is still continuing trying to get the computer to stop.
Yeah.
And then what does he say? Oh, the computer says, we cannot do it. If we stop the ship, it would cross over to
Circuit
with
the life support systems.
He's like before system. And then
How is that a thing?
I know. And then he looks, and there's in the communication device in Spock's POV of the communication monitor, there's a really nice dolly shot.
Yeah. It's like,
That
wow.
was weird. They had a dolly shot.
Yes.
In the communications thing.
Yes, in the future, it's going to be like that, thanks to the creators of Facebook and stuff
That's
like
right,
that. They're going to have things
cameras.
like that.
Virtual cameras that can do dolly moves.
But how does it know to do a dramatic dolly move? Because that was very dramatic into a two-shot. Yeah, exactly.
And now we go to break.
Yes.
And it's Captain's log. And basically he says that we're going to have a preliminary hearing.
Right.
To see what the next steps are. So they're inside this room.
Yeah.
And he says that, Mr. Spock has waived a representation.
Yeah. In fact, he pleads guilty and says he wants a court-martial.
Yeah, right away.
Yeah.
And he's like, you can't do it. We need 3 Starfleet officers. Command
only 2.
level. There's only 2 here.
Yeah.
He goes, well, actually, if you notice that Captain Pike is still in the books as active.
Yeah, and Kirk seems amazed by that. Like, what?
Yeah, and Mendez is like, we didn't have the heart to retire him, Jim.
Well, with good reason.
Yeah.
They're Starfleet with a heart, I guess.
And he's like, well, you gotta admit, he's got he must have a plan. So now there's a passage of time, and now we're in the actual court-martial.
Yeah, and we're in dress uniform. Everybody's in dress uniform, except for Pike. Why isn't he wearing a dress uniform?
Man. They should have put his
They should have
medals
put
on the
a
outside of his...
they should
his
put
chair.
something nice on his neck.
Yeah, something.
Like one of those, what are those things called? Dickie. They put a Dickie on there
This-
to make it look like he has a full dress shirt on.
Put all his medals right there.
Yeah, he would have liked that. Which, by the way, he doesn't look anything like Jeffrey Hunter.
So they start...
But you know what? That actor who's in the chair actually was in a couple episodes as an extra on the control panel.
What extra?
Console. The guy in several episodes, you see his face clearly.
in the chair. Who's the chair?
The guy in the wheelchair who playing Jeffrey Hunter's
That was
character.
Jeffrey Hunter?
That's not Jeffrey Hunter.
Oh, see, I knew.
They wanted Jeffrey Hunter, but he couldn't do it. He was filming a movie in Italy.
Oh, see, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
For some reason, I just didn't even think about it.
No, it wasn't him. But it doesn't look like him, though,
See,
at all.
we are fans, not experts.
Yeah. And it's so great because you get to see that actor, and I'll point him out later in an episode when he comes up. I'll show you him. That played the Jeffrey Hunter in a wheelchair.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
So now they're there, and Spock's like,
well, Mendez is like,
Yeah.
why would you do this? Why?
oh yeah, but he traps him though. Spock's like, is your comments part of the record, sir?
Yes,
He's
that's
like,
part of the record.
Turn on the stardate, blah, blah, blah. Turn on the monitor, and we'll.
Yeah,
what are you doing? Why would you turn on the monitor? Well, to answer your question.
Right.
You asked why.
I asked why.
As part of the official record.
Kurt is like, yeah, you asked why. You opened up all kinds of shit.
Yeah, you got the door open, man. Let the
door's wide
courtroom
open.
begin.
He can do whatever he wants now. He asked why. He's got to answer it. So the monitor comes on, and it's the shot that we saw at the beginning of the cage.
Yep.
Where it flies up to the top of the bridge and looks down and through the glass, I guess, dome.
Yeah, the glass dome.
And he's like, oh, this is 13 years ago.
Yeah, it was 13 years ago. Yeah. Well, I don't know if he did it so emotionally, but
No.
yeah, it was 13 years ago. The USS Enterprise is in deep space, and they're getting, But then they stop the recording.
Yeah, Kirk
and-
stops it.
Yeah, which is really cool. How he does that. He just stops it and walks over to Pike and says, "Is that real? Is this real? Are we watching? We don't make record tapes like that."
Yeah, and then he like beeps twice.
And he beeps once, yes, once for yes.
Yes, and he's like, that's impossible.
Yeah, and then they start getting into another argument about how the impossibility of it, and we can't watch it. It's not good. And
Right.
Kirk's like, "Yeah, I want to see more." And
Yeah, so they continue.
Yeah, they continue. Yeah.
And so they talk about on the bridge how they got this alarm, and that it's like a subspace transmission, not subspace, but an old radio transmission.
Yeah, for some reason the radio wave is coming at them at light speed, and they're figuring it out that it's a light speed thing, and then it turns it's a radio wave, sir. It's
Yeah,
a
they don't know
distress
if it's
signal.
a weapon or what.
Yeah.
So,
And then they figure it out that it's a radio wave. And this bleeds into the original pilot. This was the part of the original pilot. They're talking, and he's like, Pike is like, no, we're not going to check it out. We got to worry about our own selves. We don't even know if that was 18 years ago. We have to take care of our own.
injured, yeah.
Yeah, there's a bunch of injured people.
Because they were on I think there was a fight on a battle on a planet,
Yeah,
which we'll get
on
to
Rigel
in
7.
Part 2 of the Menagerie on Rigel 7.
Yeah.
Where a couple of people died, and people got injured. If you look throughout the episode of the cage, you'll see people with like wrapped up arms or some kind of something on their neck.
Bandages.
Yeah, bandage on the neck.
Old-fashioned Band-Aids.
Yeah.
He says, no, we're moving on. And he goes down to his cabin, and he says, Doc, join me in the cabin. Doc shows up, opens up his doctor box,
He's
and
like,
starts messing around. He goes, what do you got there? He starts talking about how frustrated he is.
Yeah.
Pike does.
And he's like, oh, yeah, sure. And he's mixing stuff. And he's like, what is
He
that?
goes, I don't need any medicine. He goes, what the devil is that, ice?
Basically, he goes, who wants a warm martini?
Yeah, and he gives him a martini. He goes, well, sometimes people will tell their bartender, they'll never tell their doctor.
Right, exactly.
Which I do not find that to be truthful. I think I tell my doctor just about anything.
No.
Yeah. My bartender, I tell high tales of glory is what I tell my bartender. Especially when I'm there for a while. They'll hear glorious tales of yore.
So he's talking about the pressures of being the captain.
Yeah.
And it's probably because he's got PTSD from that battle on the...
That's what I was going to tell you that, actually. Yeah.
Probably PTSD. And he'd rather be, horseback riding or, hanging out and being having a business where he's on the planet with all the green dancing women.
Yes, Rigel or Orion. Yeah.
All these things that'll come up later on in part 2 of the Menagerie that we've already talked about in the cage, which was our first episode.
Yeah.
So if you want to see the cage, go to our first episode. So then is there a message, and then they set a course for Talos 4, right?
Yeah. So while they're there talking, the doc and they get a message from the bridge. Hey, there's another message coming in. There are survivors. It's like, okay, let's go. Warp Factor 7. Let's book out of here. That's when they have that weird warp factor thing that they cut out in this episode where the stars are showing. Yeah, remember that?
Yeah. He's like counting off the warp speeds.
Yeah. So that's when that happens. That's right.
So
and then it pulls out into the courtroom, and we see the courtroom again.
Mendez is like going, wow, this is awful fancy magic with your powers of whatever, and he's
Your
like
computer powers of AI, basically telling him.
Yeah,
basically,
and he goes,
without
he asked Captain Pike, is this what you remember?
Yeah.
Is this what's happening? Had happened, and
Pike flashes yes.
Yes. They also asked Pike if you had any kind of recording devices that could capture all this, and he said no.
No.
So
it's a mystery. Where is this recording coming from?
Right, and Kirk, he wants to continue because he's intrigued. He wants to continue, and he asks. They start to argue about whether they should continue or not.
Yeah.
And Mendez and Kirk come to this. They're going to ask Pike, and they said, Pike, do you want to continue under these conditions? And Pike has one beep, and that means a yes. So they're going to continue.
Yeah.
They continue the transmission. So we're back on the bridge, and the Enterprise is in Pike's time is entering orbit into Talos 4.
Right.
And
this really cool shot where they rush up on the planet. It's so cool.
And so then I don't know his name, but the blonde guy says, hey, there's some flashing kind of circle things that we think may be parts of a ship down there.
Yeah, debris. Yeah,
So
that blonde-haired 1950s looking space adventurer guy. Yeah,
so
clearly.
So they basically decide, okay, we're going to go transport down. And it was just kind of funny. I didn't really remember this a lot from the last time. They say, you guys ready? And go, yeah, I'm going. And so everybody goes except for number one, and she's sitting there, oh, I want her to
crestfallen. She's crestfallen.
He's like, sorry, number one, but I got to have my most experienced officer on the bridge to watch our backs.
That's right. Oh, but they like the transporter room. Remember?
Yeah.
It's so like retro with the War of the Worlds monitors coming out,
I forgot that,
and the humming, and that guy's voice is like, all right, we're ready to beam you down. It doesn't match the Teamster's voice.
It's like it matches the description of a ship that just blasts its way out Mos Eisley.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it was almost the same voice.
Exactly.
It might have been the actor.
It might have been the same guy.
No idea.
Yeah, man. So they beam down, but their landing party has these cool outfits that are really tough. They have like these jackets they're wearing, almost synonymous with Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan uniforms. I'm thinking, because they have that fold over thing.
Yeah.
And, they have like a shiny. It's a thick fabric. It was really cool. I like those outfits. Yeah.
Nice jackets.
So they beam down, and since it's 13 years ago, the technology must have improved since then because it takes forever to beam these guys down. Like,
I can't show the whole sequence because of copyright laws.
Exactly, it was just too long.
Okay, so they beam down and they're looking around. And
they beam to a valley that's nearby, like a click away or something. And they start walking.
And Spock is limping. It's just something I did not mention in the last episode, but somebody in the comments, not in the last episode, in episode 1, The Cage, somebody mentioned in the comments that he's limping. They asked, why is he limping? And their theory was because he's probably on the landing party from the battle that he's talking about with the doctor.
Rigel 7.
Rigel 7.
Yeah,
maybe
the
he got
Rigel 7
injured
battle. Yeah.
But we don't really see him limp later, so maybe they decided to say screw it.
I don't get it, man.
So they find these humming little plants, and he smiles.
Yeah, because the atmosphere around them is like, you hear the humming and the strange alien world sounds, and then they grab the plants, and the humming parts of the humming stop.
Yeah, it's like the wind kind of makes these things sing.
And he's smiling, like you said, right?
Yeah. I got Spock smiles, limp and Spock smiles. The singing plant.
This is exciting!
Exactly.
Isn't this cool?
Yeah. So
Captain, look! It'd be hilarious.
It is hilarious. So they walk.
I must take this to my quarters!
I'm going to put this right here in my jacket that Chip likes so much. So they walk a little bit more, and all of a sudden one of the guys sees the encampment.
Yeah. Yeah, he's the guy that is later in the Kirk universe. He's the guy that gets all the ore on him in that one episode, Enemy Within.
That's right.
So yeah, he sees the camp, and it's all these old people, and
Yeah, the one guy goes, "They're men. They're human."
they're all excited. They're all meeting, shaking
Yeah.
hands. But we cut to aliens are observing
Yes,
them
the first time we see the
on a
buttheads.
screen. Yeah, the butthead aliens.
I called them the butthead aliens.
That's right.
We knew that. I established that last time. Oh no! First they have this little conversation about, like I want to talk to you about there's nothing wrong with them.
Yeah, the doc was like saying there's nothing wrong. In fact, they're too healthy.
And she's like, maybe we should talk about our secret.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, we don't,
And the old guy's like, yes, we have. Perhaps you are ready for our secret. Let Vina show you. We're just a bunch of old men. She is very
accept your
forward.
judgment.
Yeah, that's it. I'll accept
Yeah.
your judgment.
So she starts leading him, and as I said,
Like
last
up
time,
up these rocks, right? Yeah.
So we're going up the rocks, and she's like, "Do you see? Do you see?" She's like, "You are a perfect specimen." Yeah. And all of a sudden, she disappears, and then we cut to a shot of the survivors disappearing.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the door opens, and the buttheads come out, and they spray him with some kind of gas.
Yeah, knocks him out.
And they drag him in, and everybody's reacting and trying to follow him in, and the door's closed.
The captain.
Yeah, it's
and
like
they
a
run
big
up.
elevator.
Yeah, and they're shooting it with their
Right.
not new phasers, but the original phasers.
And they keep trying it. We're trying to figure out what they built what they used to build it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. What
I was saying it could have been like a hose nozzle for
Yeah,
water
we don't
hose,
know.
like you don't know, but it's cool and
Yeah, so they're trying to shoot it.
very
shoot it open,
old-fashioned-y.
and with no luck. And then they call up to number one and say to the Enterprise.
There was never any survivors on Talos 4.
And that's in
There's
the
a nice
courtroom.
close-up, and then it cuts. Yeah, it's the courtroom. It pushes out, and we see that them looking at a courtroom.
Yeah.
Is that? Do they then stop the recording?
Yeah, they
and
stop
like
the recording.
Is that to give Pike a rest, or
No, because Mendez is
Oh, they
basically-
get a signal or something, right? From,
from
Starbase 11.
whatever. And they said that there's a transmission coming from Talos 4,
Yes.
and they're like, huh?
Yeah.
Why is there a transmission coming from Talos 4?
Yeah. They picked it up, and they said, "Commodore, you are to assume command of the Enterprise, relieve Captain Kirk, and return to Starbase 11 immediately."
Right.
Yeah.
And
And the music is like dun 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 dun.
yeah, Mendez is like, Spock, you know what you're doing, getting these messages. You're gonna get the death penalty, and you're gonna ruin your captain's career.
Yeah.
And he jumps up and he's like going, he knew nothing about this.
Yeah.
This
Spock's
you
like,
can't
yeah.
put this on him.
Right.
And he's like going, well, he's the captain, and he has to take responsibility.
Yeah, and he takes responsibility for his crew.
And he's like, now turn the ship back to a manual control. And then he goes, I respectfully decline.
Yeah. He said, yeah.
Yeah.
Dang.
What did you say that was funny about like the consequences? What?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He goes, "Don't you understand the consequences of what you've done? We're going to recess." I was like, "They're gonna go take a nap now. Those are the consequences." Yeah. I go, "Spock, do you know what you're doing?" He goes, "Jim, you must see the rest of the transmission."
It's imperative. It's
yeah.
his life and your career.
Yeah. Exactly.
Kirk gets all pissed off. Kind of looks at him like, fuckhead.
Yeah. Yeah. Like,
What does he-
damn.
what
It's
does
like,
he
what the
say?
hell's going
What
on?
does he say to him? He just basically says, lock him up.
Yeah. Yeah. And then this Studley guy from Central Casting comes and takes him away.
Yeah, and then
And that's
Kirk is
he's
fine.
standing alone in the courtroom. And that's the end.
I like this. I like the way knowing what the cage was about, and seeing it all the way, it was intended to be broadcast.
Our first episode of Edith Keelers' Edge of Forever Bar and Grill.
Yes, I think that they did a good job trying to figure out a way to use that material.
Yeah. Because they were like strapped for time and they were over budget.
Yeah.
And this was a way for them to, save money and stretch the production schedule.
All right, that is the episode.
Yes.
Thank you very much for watching. The next episode will be the Menagerie Part 2, and hopefully that'll be up in a couple of weeks.
Yes.
And we really appreciate you guys. Please subscribe. Please hit that bell, and you'll get notifications. Make comments. We like to answer you the best we can when we can. And that's it, Chip.
Yes, thank you. Till then, the bar is closed.